Hey guys, I've been spending a bit of time reworking my UI framework a bit, and you can see this beautiful analytics counter in the top left. It's made entirely in my framework, and it's drawn like this. That's it. These are different components. To make this work, you create an XML file and you have to give it a style. Well, you don't have to, but it's advised that you give it a style because that's how you describe any component. So the style is called example, which is this style, example.x CSS. To describe a component that's hard, that's already coded in, that you can't really, you might not have access to changing how it gets parsed. You do this image dash, you have to put the component name first, and then you do a dash, and then you do your class name or what you want it to be called. So that's this can be whatever. Anything after the dash can be whatever, but anything before the dash has to match the component name, which everything's case sensitive. You can set the name here. It is advised, as very often not having a name might cause bugs. I'm not sure why yet, but as you can see here, dot image hyphen box, and it sets all these values. Now if I just set the position to, let's just say 100, you can see my box move. I'll set it back to 25 because I like it there. Yeah, so let's just say I want another image. Name of test class is image test box. Actually, I didn't test it with 2 hyphens, so this is a good test. Now, we don't have a test box yet. Yep. So I'm gonna change this to be test box. Okay, it works. It's just the first hyphen that matters. So now we have a box here. Position 500, 100, with a size of 100. Now, if you look at the hierarchy, you can see that it gets made in this order exactly. Analytics FPS draws entities. You can see counter draws entity. And you can see draws entities and FPS. You can set the name in the CSS, or you can set the name inside of the XML. It's up to you. I prefer both. So you can, so for like this component, FPS counter, you see there's no dot. So that means you can change global properties on this page of what the style sheet's used of a component. So I can say image, and I want them all to be scale of 5.5. If I remove this scale and save it, well, I might. Did it work? Test. Maybe I'm not setting the value. I should be setting the value. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. Scale. So vector 2. Maybe this doesn't work as I wanted it to. Anyways, it's a work in progress. Let's just pretend it worked. Am I doing something? Likely I'm doing something wrong. that I'm not seeing at the moment. That should have worked, but I'm not sure. Anyways, you can see here, FPS counter. It's only one FPS counter, but if I add a second one, it's obviously just going to work. It's added there. It's positioned up there, you can barely see it. And it's positioned up there because this image, it's relative positioning. And I'm getting people spamming in my chat about viewers, which I don't care. So if I set this FPS counter instead of this image and save it, now you can see I got positioned right there. It was very easy to modify. You can see it on the run. So I could also say class now, because actually I'm not going to modify that. Let me show you the implementation of how you would implement your own component. So simply, this is the main object info. So this is what every component is going to get, like the page it lives on, the entity, the class name. Oh, this is XML stuff at the moment. So this file, you can have your name, your class name, the type name, which is this, and the name. So you can't have any more than this. That's the only things I'm allowing at the moment. And component names, so you can add specific components. Like I could do comp names, text, FPS counter, stuff like that. And it should add those. And there's a second class called Object CSS, which has the rest of the things, such as the name. If it's enabled, so I could do enabled true or enabled false. If I do enabled false, this should... I think I'm just setting it to default to true. So that one might not be working at the moment. Enable mouse. So if I click on an FPS, you can see that mouse is not enabled. If I do enable mouse, is that how I spot it down here? I didn't even add that there. That explains why enable didn't work, because it's not in this list. Okay. Those aren't going to work. But these ones down here, they will work. So if I do rotation 50, I guess I could do rotation X. And now, beautiful. You can see both of them got changed. Okay. That shows that it is affecting them globally. All of the FPS counters are getting affected by this. Okay. This is already 8 minutes long. What the hell? I haven't even said anything. Okay. Custom ones. Go into FPS counter. This is your component, such as actually bind example is more obvious. So you create your component. This component is called bind example. And you need to create a bind example XML and bind example CSS classes that inherit these specific classes. And inside of these classes, you can overwrite two methods, these two. And this is the method you overwrite for the XML version, which you don't really need to, unless you want to add some custom variables into the XML. So if you want to add, say, draw counter to have, I don't know, max cars is 10. To do this, you would have to do public string, public int max cars. And just load property real quick. And then you can do little. Actually, you can use this e. This is the XML element. So e.parseInt max cars, and then you can say if it doesn't find a value, if it doesn't find this XML tag, what value should it set it to? Let's just say 10. Actually, 5, 51. Okay, so the reason it's an at is because it's an attribute. If it was a child of it, so if it was a child of it like so, you'd have to write it like that. So this way, you'd have to remove the at symbol and make it capital M. Otherwise, you do this for that. But I'm not gonna be recompiling to add this. So the most important is you make a component to draw text very easily. You create a class, inherit the text, inherit component, overwrite, hide, the update method. Set your value to whatever you want. Then add the two needed classes. You don't need this, so this class can be empty just as in bind. If you want to set any values in your CSS, you create your values, you overwrite this property, this gets looped over. Let me show you. In here, gets looped here for each child of the declaration. So this is the declaration for each child. It finds that this is the name, so you can see property.name. So these are the property names, and these are the values. So you just do a little iteration. So you just do property.name, you grab the value name, the property name, so font size, as you can see, and you set based on the type you call the write method, which is from CSS parse utils for methods. Yeah, that's about it. This style method gets called just before the entity gets added to the world. So here you want to set your values and potentially even you have to do based on style at the moment. Yeah, based on style just sets the defaults. Does the defaults? It does the base, so the object CSS base. And yeah, which sets position and stuff like that, which is important. Anyways, that's about it. I need to add a binding back in, but once that's done, this should be pretty much good to go. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day.